Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning another genre of literature known as what? Prose. Another style of literature known as what? Prose. Another style of literature known as what? Prose. What is prose? What is prose? This term applies to all forms of what? Written and what? Spoken expression. You understand? All forms of written and spoken expression which do not have a what? Regular rhythmic what? Pattern. Prose are all forms. Prose are what? All forms of written and spoken expression which do not have a what? Regular rhythmic pattern. Regular what? Rhythmic pattern is a spoken expression. You understand? It tells story that is not dramatized. You understand? It does not have a regular rhythmic pattern like a poetry, isn't it? It's just a pure story written down. Is it? And it could be a fiction, it could be a non-fiction, isn't it? Fiction is something that is not real, something that you imagine. Non-fiction is something that is real, a true story, isn't it? So, that is prose. That is what? Prose. That is what? Prose. Now we are going to look at the qualities of a prose. Qualities of a what? Prose. What are the qualities of a prose? Number one is what? It is what? It is without sustained rhythmic regularity. You understand? It's just a plain story. You don't have to sustain the rhythm. You understand? Number two is what? It has some what? It has some logical and what? Grammatical what? Order. It has to be organized, you understand? When you're telling a fiction story, it has to be organized. Whether it's fiction or it's a non-fiction story, it has to be what? Organized. Number three is what? It is characterized by what? Style. You understand? It has to have a characteristic style. Though this time I vary from one writer to the what? Other. You understand? But there has to be a what? Style. Number four is what? It secures a variety of what? Expressions. It secures a variety of expressions. It secures a variety of what? Expressions. You understand? It makes, there are many expressions that you see in a given prose. Is that clear? Then finally, you can say that prose is the what? Commonest. And probably the most what? Most popular. Prose is probably the commonest and the most popular form of what? Most popular genre of what? Literature. Is that clear? So you find out that prose is mostly, most of the novels that you read aren't them prose. They are prose. It's simpler to write, you understand, than when you're writing a drama. So prose is simpler to write.
What do you inspirational books under the fiction or non-fiction?
They are actually inspirational. It depends on the context. You understand? If it's telling you about things that are real, things that really happened, they are trying to explain a real life story. You understand? Then it's non-fiction. You understand? They are telling things that are not there. Then it's fictional. You understand? But there could be combination of both in one write-up. You understand? Advancements in writing and essays and literature, you can combine the two, you understand, to make your point, isn't it? So, now types of what? Prose. Types of prose. Prose are divided into two. One is what? Fiction, and two is what? Non-fiction. So there are two types of prose that you can have. You can have fiction and you can have what? Non-fiction. Now number one, let's look at what? Fiction. What are fiction? What are fiction? Fiction is what?
The term used for narrative writing.
Is the term used for narrative. You're telling a story, you're narrating a scene, an event, isn't it? Fiction is a term used for narrative what? Narrative writing. You're narrating something. Narrative writing. Where is it gotten? Drawn from where? Drawn from the imagination. Drawn from what? Imagination. You write from what you imagine. Fiction. It's not real. You understand? So whenever you're writing a prose that is fiction, you imagine something and you write it. Is that clear? Drawn from the imagination of the what? Author. Rather what? Rather than from history or fact. You understand? So that is what fiction is. It is drawn from the what? Imagination of the author. The author imagines and writes. It's not writing about something that had happened in history or a fact, something that is true, something that has been proven to happen. You understand? He writes from his imagination. That is fiction. Whenever you're writing from imagination, that kind of prose is known as what? Fiction. You understand? So it acts as to enforce you, to persuade you to do something, that this could be possible. You understand? You look at some films where they act about things that they bring robots. Robots will come out. You understand? Go to war, do stuffs. All those things are not factual. They are not happening now, isn't it? And they are not things that have happened before. But when you look at films that tells you about Nazi German, about Adolf Hitler, the things he did, you know the man Adolf Hitler lived, isn't it? There are some films that when you want to watch, they say based on true life story, isn't it? That it actually happens. So those ones that actually happens are non-fiction. But the one that did not happen, or the one that has not happened, or the one that is not likely to happen, we call them what? Fiction, isn't it? Now we are going to look at types of fiction. We are going to look at what? Types of fiction. Types of fiction. What are the various types of fiction that we have? Number one, we have what we call novel. Number one, we have what we call what? Novel. You know what novels are now, right? Novels that you read. Then number two, we have what we call what? Novelette. Novelette. What's the difference between a novel and a novelette? A novelette is shorter. Is it not? A novelette is shorter. Now we talk about non-fiction. What are non-fictions? Non-fictions are the opposite of what? Fiction. They are the what? Opposite of what? Fiction. I told you that fictions are imagination, isn't it?
Yes.
So non-fictions deals with
True experience.
true what? Experience.
And happening.
And what? Happenings. Things that had already happened. Through what? Expressions and what? Happenings. Is that clear? So they could be stories from history. That is non-fiction. Is that clear? So these are types of fiction or examples of fiction. What are the examples of non-fiction? Who can give me examples of non-fiction?
Autobiography.
Autobiography. What is an autobiography?
It's a story of a person written by a person.
An autobiography is a story of a person's life written by that person himself. Is that clear? Autobiography. A story of a person's life written by that very what? Person. A story of a person's life living by that very what? Person. Example is what? My Early Life by Obafemi Awolowo. You understand? It's an autobiography of himself. He wrote it by himself. You understand? That is autobiography. Another one is Zambia Shall Be Free by who? Kenneth Kaunda. Zambia Shall Be Free by Kenneth Kaunda. And also My Odyssey by Nnamdi Azikiwe. All these are examples of what? Autobiography. They are non-fictions. They are what? Non-fictions. Then number 2 example of a non-fiction is what? Biography. Is what? Biography. And what is biography? Biography is a written account of a person's life written by another person. Biography is a written account of a person's life written by another person. Is that clear? So that's the difference between autobiography is also a written account of a person's life, but this time around written by that person himself, isn't it? But when it is written by another person, it is known as what? Biography. Example is Life and Death of Lenin by Robert Payne. You understand? The Life and Death of Lenin by Robert Payne. And the second example is The Prince of the Niger by Chidi Amutwa. The Prince of the Niger by Chidi Amutwa. That's another example. Is that clear? Yeah. Thank you. Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning literature in English. Literature in English. It's a form or a way of starting. We are going to start with the 3 genres in literature. The 3 styles. The 3 styles. The 3 categories. The 3 kinds. The 3 genres. The 3 genres in literature. And they are drama, prose, and poem. Drama, prose, and what? Drama, prose, and what? Poem. Drama, prose, and poem. So today we are going to be starting with drama. Today we are going to be starting with what? Drama. Drama. What is drama? Today we are starting with drama. And we can say that drama is an imitated human what? Human action. Drama is an imitated human action. Drama is imitated human action. When you imitate something that could happen, you understand? But you now go and bring in some actors and actresses to imitate it, to dramatize it, you understand? To perform it. So that is drama. Imitated human actions. And for a drama to come to play, there are 3 necessary elements. There are 3 what? Necessary elements. There are 3 necessary elements for drama to come into what? Play. There are 3 necessary elements. There are 3 what? Necessary elements of what? Drama. There are 3 necessary elements of drama. Number 1 is A is what? A what? Story. Drama dramatizes a story, you understand? A drama performs a story. There has to be a story. that the actors and actresses perform, isn't it? So there has to be a story before you talk about drama. All dramas are they are telling us stories, isn't it? About events that happen or about possible events. So there has to be a story. Number two, this story must be told in action. This story must be what? Told in action. Unlike prose that you can start reading a prose, you understand? Drama has to be performed. There has to be action. Is that clear? So this story that you have to interpret it into action, isn't it? You have to bring one or two people, then you start acting it. Then number three, there has to be what? Actors. There has to be what? Actors. There has to be what? Actors who do what? Who impersonate. Who impersonate the what? Characters. There has to be actors who impersonate the characters. You understand? So whenever a given literature genre has these three elements, then it is called a what? Drama. It is called a what? Drama. Whenever a given literature style has a story, and the story told in action, and the story told in action by some actors who impersonate the what? Character, then we have what? Drama. Is that clear? Is that clear? Have you watched you've watched some dramas, isn't it? You see drama or play, it could be played on stage. Drama could be played on stage, isn't it? It could also be acted in form of film, is it not? By actors. So that is drama. That is what? That is what? Drama. That is drama. Drama is the only genre of what? Literature that is associated with what? With stage performance. Is that clear? It is only drama that you can do what? Act on stage. It is only drama that can be acted on what? Stage. Is that clear? Drama is also called what? Drama is also called play. Drama is also called play. Drama is also what? Called play. Drama is also called play because it is acted on a stage. Because it is acted on a what? Stage. So drama can also be called a play. Is that clear? Drama can also be called a play. Types of drama. Types of drama. What are the types of drama that we have? Types of drama. There are different types of drama that you see in plays. You understand? Some of them end happily. Some of them are very sad stories. Is it not? Some dramas or some plays end very happily. They start happily and end happily. Some of them are love stories, isn't it? Some are tragic stories that tell about sad things, how people feel bad, how people are killed. You understand? Some of them make you laugh when you're watching them, isn't it? So what are the different types of drama that we have? Number one, we have what we call tragedy. Number one, we have what we call what? Tragedy. Number two, we have what we call comedy. Number two, we have what we call what? Comedy. Number three, we have what we call tragic comedy. Number three, we have what we call what? Tragic comedy. Tragic comedy. Number four, we have what we call melodrama. Number four, we have what we call what? Melodrama. Number five, we have what we call farce. Number five, we have what we call what? Farce. Is that clear? Is that clear? Is Is that clear? So these are the types of drama that we have. These are the types of what? Drama that we have. Now we're going to take them one by one. We're going to take them what? One by one. We are going to take them what? One by one. Number one is tragedy. What is tragedy? What is tragedy? Tragedy is a serious play with sad ending. Tragedy is a what? Serious play with sad ending. A serious play with sad ending is a serious play with sad ending. Tragedy is a what? Serious play with sad ending. That is a tragedy. A serious play with sad ending. Who can give me an example of a tragedy? Who can give me an example of a tragedy? Example of a tragedy is the what? Shakespeare's Romeo and what? Juliet. Have you watched that play? Romeo and Juliet. It's a very interesting film that talks about the love life of a boy or a man known as what? Romeo, and a beautiful woman known as what? Juliet. But you see, after the whole story, it ended up in a very sad event of death, isn't it? So that's why it is a tragedy. It's a very, very serious story, but usually ends up in what? Tragedy, in death, in sad, usually end up having a sad ending. And that is what? Tragedy. Is that clear? Now we're going to look at what? Comedy. We're going to look at what? Comedy. We're going to look at what? Comedy. Comedy is a type of what? Drama. Comedy is a type of drama or play or drama play that ends at causing smile. Causing what? Smiles. Causing what? Smiles and what? Laughter. End at causing smiles and what? Laughter. Comedy is a kind of play or a kind of drama that ends or that is aimed by the actors to cause what? Smiles and what? Laughter. It makes you to do what? Laugh. It makes you to do what? Laugh. It ends happily. It ends what? Happily. It makes you happy. When you're watching a comedy, you laugh most times, you understand? You're always smiling. You understand? Because they are always doing things that make you laugh. They'll do funny things, you laugh. So when you're watching sauce, you're watching what? Comedy. You're watching what? Comedy. Is that clear? It differs from farce and blocks in the sense that it is continuous. It is what? A serious, sustained plot. There are other types of drama that makes you laugh. You understand? But comedy is a sustained plot. It is well planned. You understand? It's a serious play. Just like tragedy is a serious play. Only that this one makes you laugh, whereas this one ends sadly. You understand? But it's continuous. Now we're going to learn about another form of drama. Another form of what? Drama known as what? Tragicomedy. Another form of drama known as what? Tragicomedy. So what is tragicomedy? Tragicomedy is a type of play or drama which employs what? Plots. It employs plots suitable for what? Suitable for what? Tragedy. But then what? It employs what? That is suitable for what? Tragedy. But does what? but ends up happily. Ends up happily like what? Comedy. Are you seeing that? So that's why it is called what? Tragic comedy. It has the attributes of both tragedy and what? Comedy. So a tragic comedy is a type of drama which employs plots suitable for what? Tragedy. Suitable for what? Tragedy. But ends up what? Happily like what? Comedy. So it's like a combination of tragedy and a comedy film put together, isn't it? It starts as a plot for tragedy, but it ends up happily, isn't it? When you watch some film, you see them starting up in a very sad way. You understand? You see in the family, one witchcraft woman in the village will kill the father. You understand? And will be trying to kill the mother. Then all of a sudden, the kids go to the town, make money, become very wealthy, come back, makes the mother very happy. You understand? So that is what tragic what comedy. That is what tragic comedy. That is what tragic comedy. It takes you turn from bad to what? Good. From bad to what? Good. Now there is another type of drama known as what? Farce. Known as what? Farce. And what is farce? This is a play provoking what? This is a play provoking excessive what? Laughter. Any play that provokes excessive laughter. This one is not just smile or quiet laugh. Is that clear? This is not just smile or quiet laugh. It imposes what? Excessive what? Laughter. Is that clear? It is known as what? Farce. Any play that provokes excessive laughter is known as farce. Or in other words, what? In other words, it is a what? Funny play. A farce is a what? Funny play. A farce is a what? Funny play for the what? For the theater. For the what? Theater based what? For the theater based on unlikely situation. That is a farce. You understand? So it can also be called a what? Funny play for the theater based on what? Unlikely situation. You see all those comedians, when they come, they make some. You watch AY live shows. They add some very funny plays. You understand? That makes you to just burst into laughter. That is farce. That is what? Farce. That is what? Farce. Now we're going to look at another form of drama known as what? Burlesque. So what kind of drama is this? This is a form. This is a what? Form. This is a form of icomacy. This is a form of what? Icomacy. Characterized by ridiculous. Characterized by what? Ridiculous exaggeration. You understand? It's a form of icomacy characterized by ridiculous what? Exaggeration, isn't it? So that's what the blast is. It is characterized by what? Ridiculous what? Exaggeration. Here, the essential quality. Here, the essential what? Quality. Which makes A blask is the what? Is the what? Discrepancy between what? Between the subject matter and what? Style. So it's not place where you have a subject matter very different from the style of its play. You understand? Because it's what they utilize a system of ridiculous what? Exaggeration. Everything is exaggerated. That brings about the kind of play they want. And that is a what? Blast. Yes, welcome back. Today we are going to be learning dramatic techniques. Today we are going to be learning what? Dramatic techniques. Dramatic techniques. What are those things that you need to bring together for you to have a drama? Exactly. What are the things you need to bring together for you to have a drama? You understand? Dramatic techniques. And when you bring them together, how do you go about them? How do you do what? Go about them. Number one is what we call characterization. Characterization is a very important aspect of dramatic what? Techniques. You need to know the characters, isn't it? If you are telling a story, you need to know a character that can perform such a story very well, is it not? That is characterization. Bring in the right actors. You understand? The ability to choose the right actors to perform a character. When you watch mafia films, you see that in all mafia films that we've been watching, there are two characters that normally act a mafia film very well. Number one is a man known as Al Pacino. You understand? Then the other number two is a man known as Robert De Niro. Two of them, they are very good in acting mafia films. You understand? And when you talk about love films, or you talk about all those ancient films, you understand? You pick up some actors that are very good in featuring in some of them. People like Leonardo DiCaprio, you know him? Okay. What of in Nigeria, you have people like Richard Moffat, Damager, acting very well in some specific roles, is it not? So whenever you have such roles, you want to pick the person to impersonate the character. Characterization. Number two is what we call dialogue. Number two is what we call what? Dialogue. You need to write the scripts, you understand? And teach them how to communicate in it, isn't it? Pick out the right script for the right person. Number three is what we call flashback. Number three is what we call what? Flashback, isn't it? Flashback is a way of telling something, a story that of what happened initially before the present time. You understand? Whenever you're watching film, you see in a line of film where somebody is always hating somebody. You understand? You see this man, he doesn't like his nephew. Why? You don't know why he hates his nephew. Now they can play a little flashback of when the mother of that nephew that is was maltreating this boy in the olden time. You understand? That is flashback. Flashback. Number four, we have what we call mime. You understand? You also have what we call costume. You know what costume is? The regalia, the dress they wear to act the film, isn't it? If you are acting film about what happens in the village, you have to wear the kind of clothes they wear in the village, isn't it? You want to act what happens in the town, you have to wear shirt and jeans and stuff like that. Number six is what we call music, isn't it? Music and what? Dance. In most places, there are places for music and what? Dance. We also have what we call acts and what? Acts and what? Scenes. Acts and scenes. You perform one act here, you go to another location and do what? Perform another what? Act. And number eight, we have what we call what? Soliloquy. Is it? Soliloquy. You understand? And we also have what we call DR. You understand? We are going to explain these things in subsequent times. And like we said, characterization, we said what characterization is, but
Yes.
picking out the words participants. You understand? A character means a participant in any work of art. Is it not? A character is a what? Participant in any work of art. A character is a participant in any work of art. You understand? So picking up those actors is what we call characterization. Is that clear?
Yes.
Then number 2, we talked about what? Dialogue. What is dialogue? Dialogue is a common what? Device. That is what? Used. That is used for what?
By storyteller.
That is used by a storyteller to do what? To demonstrate.
Yeah.
To demonstrate the what? Art. You understand? That's dialogue. You understand? The way you communicate. The way you do what? Communicate in acting. Yeah, like I said, that flashback is what? It's a narrative technique that tells us about what has happened before. You understand? That is flashback. Now, mime. What is mime? It's a type of play that is based purely on gesture without speech. Mime is a type of play that is based purely on what? On gestures without what? Speech. Without what? Speech. That is mine. Understand? So those are the various parts of technique. Those are the various parts of technique. Is that clear? Now, nice. Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning about how to interpret a piece of drama. You understand? A piece of drama test. How can you interpret a piece of drama? Number 1, you look at the what? Theme. You look at the theme of the drama. Is that clear? Number 2, you look at the what? Plot. You look at the theme, which is the main message the drama is trying to pass through. You look at the plot. The plot is the way the drama is organized, isn't it? The arrangement. The plot is the arrangement of the drama, whereas the theme is the main message, the focal message the drama is trying to pass. Then number 3, we look at the what? The socio what? The socio-political context the drama is trying to what? Teach us or put us through. The socio-political context. So in interpreting any given drama, we look at the theme. The theme is the main message that is being passed across in the act of dramatizing or performing the drama, isn't it? Then the plot is the arrangement, is it not? The arrangement of the drama, how it came up from stage 1 to stage 2, from act 1 or scene 1 to scene 2. That is the plot. The socio-political concept, what lessons are we trying to gain from the drama? Is that clear? So we're going to look at this one by one. Number 1 is the word theme. Number 1 is the word theme. The theme. What is the theme of this drama? What is the theme? This is the what? This is the major. This is the major or central. But this is the major or central idea in a what? In a particular story or literary what? Work. This is the major or central idea in a particular story or literary work. The theme is the major or central idea in a particular story or literary work. It can also be said that this is the preoccupation. The what? Preoccupation of the writer. You understand? Because the writer already has in his mind what he wants to pass across. You understand? So at a certain point in time, it is actually what is in the mind of the writer that he pushes out. Is that clear? For instance, Olaritimi wants the readers to realize the concept of predeterminism in his play called the word "The Gods Are Not to What Blame." Is that clear? The man known as Olaritimi wants people, or wants me and you, checking out his drama, to do what? To realize the concept of predeterminism, the predeterminism. Is that clear? In his play called "The Gods Are Not to What Blame." That's the example of a theme, the main idea. What is it that the person telling the story wants you to understand in the story? That's the theme, isn't it? Isn't it? Then number 2 is the word plot. What is plot? This is the arrangement. This is the arrangement of events in a work of art. You understand? That is the word plot. The arrangement of events in a work of art. In a work of what? Art is plot. It simply indicates the sequential manner in which one event leads to what? Another. Is that clear? When you start a film, you understand? You always start from one point. Maybe you started it from a point where a man has 2 kids. One of them is very stubborn, isn't it? He goes about smoking weed, following women all about, whereas the other person goes to the stream, fetches water and firewood for the mom, isn't it? Then after some time, that one that is calm goes abroad, makes money, come back, whereas the other one is still in the village doing some nasty things around. You understand? So there has to be a what? Arrangement from one point to the other. From the point when they were small, one was diligent, the other one is not diligent. Is it not? The one that was diligent now went on to become a rich man. You understand? And all of a sudden is now more influential in the family than the other person that might actually be the elder person, but does not do the right thing, isn't it? Sequential plot from one point to the what? Other. From one point to the what? Other. From one point to the what? Other. Then we'll talk about the socio-political context in which the film is done. What are the lessons from that? It's teaching us that you have to be humble in the house, isn't it? You have to do the chores your mother or your father tell you to do, isn't it? So that you end up making out something in life, isn't it? Isn't it? So that is it. That is it. Very, very, very important. 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 Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning another genre of literature known as what? Prose. Another style of literature known as what? Prose. Another style of literature known as what? Prose. What is prose? What is prose? This term applies to all forms of what? Written and what? Spoken. expression. You understand? All forms of written and spoken expression which do not have a what? Regular rhythmic what? Pattern. Prose are all forms. Prose are what? All forms of written and spoken expression which do not have a what? Regular rhythmic pattern. Regular what? Rhythmic pattern is a spoken expression. You understand? It tells story that is not dramatized. You understand? It does not have a regular rhythmic pattern like a poetry, isn't it? It's just a pure story written down. Is it? And it could be a fiction, it could be a non-fiction, isn't it? Fiction is something that is not real, something that you imagine. Non-fiction is something that is real, a true story, isn't it? So, that is prose. That is what? Prose. That is what? Prose. Now we are going to look at the qualities of a prose. Qualities of a what? Prose. What are the qualities of a prose? Number one is what? It is what? It is without sustained rhythmic regularity. You understand? It's just a plain story. You don't have to sustain the rhythm. You understand? Number two is what? It has some what? It has some logical and what? Grammatical what? Order. It has to be organized, you understand? When you're telling a fiction story, it has to be organized. Whether it's fiction or it's a non-fiction story, it has to be what? Organized. Number three is what? It is characterized by what? Style. You understand? It has to have a characteristic style. Though this time I vary from one writer to the word other. You understand? But there has to be a word style. Number four is what? It secures a variety of what? Expressions. It secures a variety of expressions. It secures a variety of what? Expressions. You understand? It makes, there are many expressions that you see in a given prose. Is that clear? Then finally, you can say that prose is the what? Commonest. And probably the most what? Most popular. Prose is probably the commonest and the most popular form of what? Most popular genre of what? Literature. Is that clear? So you find out that prose is mostly, most of the novels that you read aren't them prose? They are prose. It's simpler to write, you understand, than when you're writing a drama. So prose is simpler to write. Yeah.
What do you put inspirational books under? Is it fiction or non-fiction?
They are actually inspirational. It depends on the context. You understand? If it's telling you about things that are real, things that really happen, they are trying to explain real life story. You understand? Then it's non-fiction. You understand? They are telling things that are not there. Then it's fictional. You understand? But there could be combination of both in one write-up. You understand? Advancements in writing and essays and literature, you can combine the two, you understand, to make your point, isn't it? So, now types of what? Prose. Types of prose. Prose are divided into two. One is what? Fiction, and two is what? Non-fiction. So there are two types of prose that you can have. You can have fiction and you can have what? Non-what? Fiction. Now number one, let's look at what? Fiction. What are fiction? What are fiction? Fiction is what?
The term used for narrative writing.
Is the term used for narrative. You're telling a story, you're narrating a scene, an event, isn't it? Fiction is a term used for narrative what? Narrative writing. You're narrating something. Narrative writing. Where is it gotten? Drawn from where? Drawn from the imagination. Drawn from what? Imagination. You write from what you imagine. Fiction. It's not real. You understand? So whenever you're writing a prose that is fiction, you imagine something and you write it. Is that clear? Drawn from the imagination of the what? Author. Rather what? Rather than from history or fact. You understand? So that is what fiction is. It is drawn from the what? Imagination of the author. The author imagines and writes. It's not writing about something that had happened in history or a fact, something that is true, something that has been proven to happen. You understand? He writes from his imagination. That is fiction. Whenever you're writing from imagination, that kind of prose is known as what? Fiction. You understand? So it acts as to enforce you, to persuade you to do something, that this could be possible. You understand? You look at some films where they act about things that they bring robots. Robots will come out. You understand? Go to war, do stuffs. All those things are not factual. They are not happening now, isn't it? And they are not things that have happened before. But when you look at films that tells you about Nazi German, about Adolf Hitler, the things he did, you know the man Adolf Hitler lived, isn't it? There are some films that when you want to watch, they say based on true life story, isn't it? That it actually happens. So those ones that actually happens are non-fiction. But the one that did not happen, or the one that has not happened, or the one that is not likely to happen, we call them what? Fiction, isn't it? Now we are going to look at types of fiction. We are going to look at what? Types of fiction. Types of fiction. What are the various types of fiction that we have? Number one, we have what we call novel. Number one, we have what we call what? Novel. You know what novels are, right? Novels that you read. Then number two, we have what we call what? Novelette. Novelette. What's the difference between a novel and a novelette? A novelette is shorter. Is it not? A novelette is shorter. Now we talk about non-fiction. What are non-fictions? Non-fictions are the opposite of what? Fiction. They are the what? Opposite of what? Fiction. I told you that fictions are imagination, isn't it? So non-fictions deals with true what? Experience. And what? Happenings. Things that had already happened. Through what? Expressions and what? Happenings. Is that clear? So they could be stories from history. That is non-fiction. Is that clear? So these are types of fiction or examples of fiction. What are the examples of non-fiction? Who can give me examples of non-fiction?
Autobiography.
Autobiography. What is an autobiography?
It's a story of a person written by a person.
An autobiography is a story of a person's life written by that person himself. Is that clear? Autobiography, a story of a person's life written by that very what person. A story of a person's life lived by that very what person. Example is what? My Early Life by Obafemi Awolowo. You understand? It's an autobiography of himself. He wrote it by himself. You understand? That is autobiography. Another one is Zambia Shall Be Free by who? Kenneth Kaunda. Zambia Shall Be Free by Kenneth Kaunda. And also My Odyssey by Nnamdi Azikiwe. All these are examples of what? Autobiography. They are non-fictions. They are what? Non-fictions. Then number 2 example of a non-fiction is what? Biography. Is what? Biography. And what is biography? Biography is a written account of a person's life written by another person. Biography is a written account of a person's life written by another person. Is that clear? So that's the difference between autobiography is also a written account of a person's life, but this time around written by that person himself, isn't it? But when it is written by another person, it is known as what? Biography. Example is Life and Death of Lenin by Robert Payne. You understand? The Life and Death of Lenin by Robert Payne. And the second example is The Prince of the Niger by Chidi Amutwa. The Prince of the Niger by Chidi Amutwa. That's another example. Is that clear? Yeah. Thank you. Yes, welcome. Today we are going to be learning about poetry. We are going to be learning about what? Poetry. In literature, we say that there are 3 genres. 3 what? Genres of literature. I would say that genre simply means style, is it not? Style or type, style or what? Types of literature. I would say we have drama, isn't it? Then we have what? Prose, isn't it? Then we have what? Poetry. 3 genres of literature, isn't it? Drama, prose, and what? Poetry. I would say that when we're talking about drama, we talk about actors. We're talking about number 1, what? A written story. It has to be a story being told by what? Actors. Is that clear? On the stage or in a play, that is drama, is it not? There has to be a storyline, and some people must come. Those people are called what? Actors. And they will now impersonate the word character and act it on stage. When we have such a style of literature, we are talking about what? Drama, isn't it? The number 2 type of literature is what we call prose. It's what we call what? Prose. When you're telling story, a long story, you don't need an actor to act it, isn't it? Then we call it prose. I would say there are different types. We have fiction and what? Non-fiction. We have fiction and non-fiction prose, isn't it? Fiction is when you're talking about things that are imaginative. Whereas non-fiction is when you're talking about life events. Like when you're talking about the autobiography of somebody or the biography of what? Somebody. We'll say autobiography when you've written this life story of yourself by yourself. Is it not? That is autobiography. That is non-fiction, isn't it? Now, when you talk, after talking about prose, now today we are going to talk about what? Poetry. That's the 3rd style of literature. And we say that poetry deals with the act of writing what? Poems. When poems are composed, you compose poems. What are poems? These poems can be described as what? Literally what? Composition. That is characterized by what? Imagination, intention. When you write stories, when you write poem about how you feel, love poem, isn't it? How a man feels for a woman. You talk about this impression. The mere sight of you was as if the heaven came down on me. You understand? You start expressing your feeling. You understand? But it's not just like express it as if you're telling a story. You have to put it in a musical form, in a form that has rhythm. It has to have arrangement. You understand? Whenever it has such form, they will call it what? Poetry or poem. Is that clear? So a poem can be described as a literary composition characterized by the presence of imagination, emotions, truth, sense of impression, expressed rhythmically. It must be expressed what? Rhythmically. It must have rhythm, as if it is music. When you see all those people that do music like Wizkid and all those people do songs, you understand? Your song has to have rhythm. If it doesn't have rhythm, then it doesn't make much sense. It doesn't have to just be talk. Even normal rap that they do, they also do it with rhythm, you understand? Some of them tend to have the same rhyme of word coming at the last part of it, isn't it? So that it has flow, it has flow. When you're singing it out, it makes sense. So poems must have what? Rhythm. With an orderly word, arrangement of parts into what? Units. Whenever you have a poem, there are different parts of the poem. We talk about the stanzas and the what? Verses, isn't it? The stanza simply means a group of lines forming a unit. A group of what? Lines of poem forming a what? Unit. Now, the arrangement of a poem in regular number of stressed and unstressed syllables within a line. This line is actually called meter. But when you arrange such lines of stressed and unstressed syllables, we'll call it a word verse. We'll call it a word verse. And this verse can always be divided into what? Stanzas. This verse can always be divided into stanzas. The verses can always be divided into what? Stanzas. Now we look at types of poetry. We look at what? Types of what? Poetry. What are the types of poetry that we have? So as a literature student, you're supposed to know that there are various types. Number one is what we call sonnet. Number one is what we call what? Sonnet. Number two is what we call ode. And number three is what we call what? Lyrics. Then we have what we call elegy. We have what we call what? Elegy. Then we have what we call what? Ballad. Then we have what we call what? Panegyric. Panegyric. Then we have what we call what? Epic. And then finally we have what we call what? Black verse. These are the different types of poetry that we have. These are the different types of what that we have. Poetry. They are the different types of poetry that we have. Now, we take them one by one. These different kinds of poetry. We take them one by one. Number one is what we call what? Sonnets. What are sonnets? Any lyrical poem that contains 14 lines is known as a what? Sonnet. Number one, it must contain how many? It has to be a lyrical poem that contains what? 14 what? Lines. Any lyrical poem, lyrical poem that contains 14 lines is known as a what? Sonnet. And there are two types of these sonnets. We have what we call the Petrarchan or Italian sonnet and the Shakespearean sonnet. We have what we call the what? Petrarchan. Who can spell it for me? P-E what? T-R-A what? A what?
A-R-C-H
A-N or E-N? A-N. Petrarchan. Or we call it what? The Italian what? Sonnet. So that's one kind of sonnet, and we already know that sonnet is any lyrical poem that has how many lines? 14 lines. So we have the Petrarchan or Italian sonnet. This is divided into two parts. The first 8 lines are called the what? Octave. With rhythm A-B-B-A-A-B-B-A. You understand? So we have it divided into two, the octave and the what? And the sextant. You understand? So here we have the octave, which is the 8 lines, isn't it? Then we have the what? Sextant, which is the what? 6 lines. 8 plus 6 is how many? Sextet. 8 plus 6 is how many? 8 plus 6. 14. Isn't it? 8 plus 6 is 14. So it comes back to the what? 14. We said that sonnet is any lyrical poem that has how many lines? 14 lines. You understand? So the Petrarchan or the Italian sonnet has an octave and a sextet, isn't it? I mean, this one is how many? 8 and 1 6. So when you add 8 and 6, you still arrive back at the sonnet. Isn't it? Isn't it? So what are those octave? We have A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A. Isn't it? A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A. Isn't it? Then whereas the sonnet is what? C, D, E, D, C, E. C, D, E, D, C, E. Isn't it? So those are the sounds for the sonnet. Whereas the Shakespearean or English sonnet, which is the number 2, is it not?
Yes.
Shakespearean or English sonnet. That's the second type, isn't it? This is Petrarchan or Italian. This one is Shakespearean or what? English. This is the type of sonnet that is divided into 3 stanzas. It is divided into how many stanzas? 3 stanzas of 4 lines each. 3 quatrains. 4 lines simply means quatrain, isn't it? And 2 rhyming lines called the couplet. Understand? So this one is divided into 3 quatrains. And how many couplets? 2 what? 2 what? 2 couplets. So 3 lines of how many lines? 3 parts of how many lines? 4 4. Isn't it? 3 4 4 lines and 2 couplets. So how many will it give us? It will still give us 14 lines, isn't it? 3 times 4 is what? 12. Isn't it? Plus 2, 4. Is it not 14? It's 14. So whenever you're writing a poem, you need to count the number of lines that the poem has. You understand? So if it has a total of 14 lines, we call it what kind of poem? Sonnet. We call it what? What kind of poem? Sonnet. Now we look at the OD. Look at the what? The OD. So what kind of this is a long lyrical poem which is addressed to ideas, objects, animals and persons. Ode is a what? Long lyrical. This my stuff is not writing very well. A long lyrical poem addressed to what? Ideas. Animals, but what again? Objects. You understand? Whenever you have ideas being directed to animals, objects, in form of a poem, we call it what? Ode. We call it what? Ode. Example is what? Wordsworth's Ode to Duty and John Cate's Ode to the what? Nightingale. So what are the examples? So examples are examples of Ode which you need to read sometimes. Wordsworth is the one written by a man known as Wordsworth, and the name is what? Ode to what? duty. And another one written by John Keats. Another one written by who? John Keats. And the name is what? Ode to what? Ode to a nightingale. So those are the two types of ode we have. I'm going to give you this note to get down later. We have what to call another type of poetry known as what? Known as what? Lyric. Lyric. That's another type of poetry. Lyric is an adjective from the word lyre. Lyric is an adjective from the word lyre. From the word what? Lyre. A lyric is therefore any poem which can be sung. A lyric is what? Any poem which can be sung. In essence, you can actually put it in the music form, you understand? And start making beats and singing it. Especially to the accompaniment of a lyre, which is an ancient Greek musical instrument. A lyre is an ancient Greek word, musical instrument. This lyre is a musical instrument, you understand? So when we talk about lyric, we talk about something that can be played using a musical instrument and be sung in form of a song, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yes.
Lyric has an easy moving regular rhythm with an end rhymes. This poem usually express personal feelings or poem. Is that clear? So when you talk about the kind of songs that you see on telly or being sung in the radio, what kind of poetry is that? Lyric. Is that clear? It's very simple to understand. So write it down. Now we talk about elegy. We talk about what? Elegy. That's another form of what? That's another form of poetry. We can also call it what? Dirge. We can also call it what? Dirge. This is a song of sorrow, mourning. Dirge is a what? Song of sorrow or what? Mourning. When somebody is crying, you have something bad that happened to you. It is a song that monthly celebrates an event like the death of a relation. You understand? When you go to the village and someone dies, there's this kind of song that they sing in the village, isn't it? By these old women, as they are crying, they sing such song. Dirge or elegy. But so that kind of song is known as what? Elegy. It is a song where somebody dies. When a relation dies, you sing it. Dirge. Example is the Songs of Sorrow by Kofi Awono. Songs of Sorrow by who? E.g. Songs of Sorrow by who? Kofi Awono. This is an example of elegy. So elegy are what? Songs of what? Sorrow or mourning. Isn't it? The song that you sing when someone dies. That's elegy of dirge. Then you talk about the other type known as what? Ballad. This is a sort of poem often handed down from generations to generation. Is that clear? Any form of poem that is often handed down from generation to generation. Poem often handed down from generation to generation. When you get to the village, there are some of these poems that people in the village recite, you understand? From one generation to generation, they hand it over. Just keep singing it. Different cultures have theirs. Is that clear? This means that it is the largest part is preserved. Its largest part is preserved through memory. It has themes celebrating legends and great village heroes. You understand? There are this kind of song that you people sing in your village when you want to, when there is a war. You understand? Or when you are celebrating something. You understand? Or when you are handing over chieftaincy title to somebody. Is that clear? Generation after generation, you see the people of that village singing such songs. They don't stop it. Unlike now, if Two-Face come and sing some old song, you say, hey, this song is old. You don't want to sing it again today. Today, who is in vogue now? See people like Whiskey, the Wrong Town. You understand? But Marley sang sings. He forgot about his own. But there are some songs that you don't forget about. You just keep singing them year after year, isn't it? Especially in the village. It has to do with the culture. It's handed over from one person to the other. Anytime you want to have a chieftaincy title, there is this kind of song that is always sung. You understand? Or when there's somebody, when a woman gives birth to a child, you see people come along to celebrate the birth of the child. They sing this kind of song. You understand? When you want to praise a mother in your culture, there is this kind of song that you sing. You understand? It is handed over from one generation to the other. You don't stop it. So such songs are known as what? Ballad. Such songs are known as what? If I resist the rest. Or should I get you one? Try to work. Good. Now, there is another type of poetry known as what? Panegyric. Panegyric. Known as what? Panegyric. A poem written or rendered in praise of a person or thing. This one is a what? A poem written or rendered in praise of a person, in praise of a person or what? Thing. That's what we call panegyric. You understand? If you come to your community and you have somebody that is able, is big, whenever people from other community come to find you, that person always goes and disturbs, you understand? You now form a kind of song or a kind of poem to praise that person. Such poem is known as what? Panegyric. We use it to praise somebody. Then we'll talk about epic. We'll talk about what? Epic. Epic. What kind of poem is epic? What kind of poetry is epic? This is a long poem, deeds of a people or of some great men. This is a what? Long poem. This one is long poem. Narrating. It must narrate. Is that clear? It must detail the heroic deeds. Heroic deeds. What is heroic? How do you say that something is heroic? Something that is great, isn't it? Heroic deeds of people. So when you have a poem that narrates, that tells you about the heroic, the great things that people or some great men did, then that kind of poetry is known as what? Epic. So an epic is a long poem narrating the heroic deeds of people or some great men. Is that clear? Example is The Paradise Lost by Milton, or Wole Soyinka's A Diary. That's an epic. Then finally we'll talk about black verse. Then finally we'll talk about what? blank, blank. Finally, we talk about what? Blank what? Verse. Blank verse. What is blank verse? Blank verse is a type of verse that has no terminal reading at the end of the line. A verse that was has no terminal reading at the end. At the end of a line of the poetry. A blank verse is a what? A blank verse. What is a blank verse? A blank verse is a verse that has no terminal reading at the end of the line of the poetry. Is that clear? That is the last type of poetry. Deeds of a people or of some great men. This is a what? Long poem. This one is long poem. Narrating. It must narrate. Is that clear? It must detail the heroic deeds. Heroic deeds. What is heroic? How do you say that something is heroic? Something that is great, isn't it? Heroic deeds of people. So when you have a poem that narrates, that tells you about the heroic, the great things that people or some great men did, then that kind of poetry is known as what? Epic. So an epic is a long poem narrating the heroic deeds of people or some great men. Is that clear? Example is The Paradise Lost by Milton, or Wole Soyinka's A Diary. That's an epic. Then finally we'll talk about black verse. Then finally we'll talk about what? Blank. Finally we'll talk about what? Blank what? Verse. Blank verse. What is blank verse? Blank verse is a type of verse that has no terminal reading at the end of the line. A verse that was has no terminal reading at the end. At the end of a line of the poetry. A blank verse is a what? A blank verse. What is a blank verse? A blank verse is a verse that has no terminal reading at the end of the line of the poetry. Is that clear? That is the last type of poetry. Yes. Welcome. Today we are going to be looking at literary terms. Literary terms. Literary terms simply means terms that are used in literature, the terms that you always come across. Whenever you're doing literature, you come across these terms. Is that clear? In the exams that you're going to write, you will come across these terms. They're going to ask you, this soliloquy what is the meaning of such from a literature that you've read? Is that clear? So you need to know the meaning of these, so that whenever you come across them in Jamb question or in any exam, you can be able to relate. You understand? When you read these literatures, the components of those books, you wrote down the books that you're supposed to read, but the components are things like this. So they are going to ask you to be able to look at the literature and talk about all this. So number one is foreshadowing. Number one is what? Foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. And this is a literary device in which the writer gives an advance hint of what is to come later in the story. Don't write yet, I'll write for you. You understand? So in this, the writer gives you an advance hint what is going to happen. When you're watching seasonal film and you start the film initially, they normally do this, is it not? They tell you what is going to happen in the rest of the movie. In summary, isn't it? They foreshadow, like this is what you're expecting. In order to what? Make you to have interest in the film, is it not? That's foreshadow. Number two is suspense. If you're reading a book or you're watching a movie, you understand? There is this kind of thing that they will do maybe towards the end or at some certain point, that event will happen. Then you'll be expecting to know what will happen later, is it not? That is suspense. You're in suspense. When you're watching, what's this movie that we normally watch? It's a program. Things like Super Story. Towards the end, they will do one thing. Maybe inside the house, somebody is hiding there. And the person that is passing is supposed to catch somebody, maybe a thief. You'll be like, hey, I want this thief to be caught. I want this thief to be. Immediately the person opens the door to catch the thief. They will say, wait for next week. You understand? You'll be in your bench, you'll be agitating, wait, let next week please, so that I'll know what happened, whether they really caught this man. You understand? Or God will go to work. Then the houseboy will come back and come and stay with the wife. You understand? All of a sudden, you see Oga, instead of going to work, Oga just drove down immediately to the house, came out of the house. As he's going to open the door and enter the house, they will just stop the film. You'll be like, let me know what this Oga will do once he enters the house. Is he going to kill this boy? You understand? Suspense. That's where they end the film. They don't want to end it in such a way that you will not want to like know what is happening next. You understand? In writing, you also do such. You write in such a way that you keep the reader, the person that reads what you've written. You understand? You keep it in suspense, like you want to read all the book. Is that clear? The concept is clear. Now, theater. What do you understand by theater? The term theater, what is it? Blossom. It's a play or form of literature written by a playwright, consisting of dialogue between what? Characters. You understand? In theater, it is something that is being acted on stage, is it not? It involves characters that discuss. That's what they call theater as. People that act, is it not? So a theater is a playwright written script that could be what? Acted. That could be what? Acted. Is that clear? Then monologue. Monologue. What does monologue mean? Monologue simply means an extended speech. You know, you have dialogue and you have monologue. That is when two people are involved, you understand? When more than one person involved, they are making conversation. But with monologue, one person do what? Does the talking. Is that clear? So that's the difference between monologue and dialogue. Then we have soliloquy. This. One writer that uses this device is a man known as Shakespeare. The man that wrote Romeo and Juliet. And I said that we're going to be reading Romeo and Juliet very well in this class. Is that not what I said? Yeah. Is that not what I said? You're supposed to read it. And what is soliloquy? Soliloquy is a technique. It is a technique through which audience shares their innermost disturbances. When you're talking to yourself, you understand what you're feeling, you're voicing it out, but you're not telling anybody. You've seen that happen in movies, is it not? Somebody says something, but it's not actually talking. I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking. Be like, oh, today was a very bad day. If I had known, I wouldn't have done this thing. You understand? You're talking to yourself. Then the next one is what we call symbolism. Symbolism is when you use such words. There are some words that you use that mean another thing. You understand? a normal word you need, but you use but it means another. For example, chariot symbolizes rapid passage of time. Vegetable love symbolizes luxuriance and constant growth of love, while ball represents unity, love, and oneness. That's symbolism. Then in films, when you watch film, there is this one person that you always call the actor. That you call the what? Actor. And there is the person you call the boss. Is it not? In normal terms, that all those films we watch, this guy and the actor. You know, the actor never die. You understand? The actor never dies in the film. And in the end of the film, who normally dies in the end of the film? The boss or the antagonist. You understand? So they don't call it actor and boss in literature. They call it the what? Protagonist and the what? Antagonist. The antagonist is the person that dies at the end. So the protagonist refers to the male central character, the central character in a play. Is that clear? That's the protagonist. If it is a male, he is referred to as the hero. But if it is a woman, she is referred as the what? Heroine. You understand? Then the antagonist is the one that opposes the main character. You see, every film that people like this, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, or Leonardo DiCaprio, most of the films they act, they are always the hero of the film. Have you noticed that? You watch foreign films? You watch foreign films? So if you know who they call Leonardo DiCaprio, okay, which foreign actor do you know? Schwarz, yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone. Do you know Sylvester Stallone? If you watch all their films, you see that they are always the actor, is it not? So they are the main or the central character. They are the what? Protagonist. Who acts very well as an antagonist in a movie? You don't know their names, man. You understand? But you understand the concept I'm trying to explain. Blossom, do you understand? Abdul, do you understand? It's very clever. Then we'll look at satire and stream of consciousness, which is also a method that is used to explore the inner flow of thoughts, the stream of consciousness. Whereas satire is a play or drama that uses fiction or fiction's characters to portray the ills of the society. Fiction. Satire, when you use things like cartoon, you understand? You draw a cartoon, you use it to represent, maybe you want to represent the president always traveling to abroad. You understand? You can make any expression that you want. But you know it's fiction. That thing you're drawing is not actually human beings. But once somebody sees it, the person is able to know that this is what you're trying to do, is it not? When you're reading newspaper, you go to the back. You see one big person that is having big stomach. That time that PDP was still the ruling government in Nigeria. They will write that big person with big stomach, PDP on the body. You understand? Then they will draw people that look like skeleton to be the masses in Nigeria. You see the government is feeding the people dry. You understand? Then once you look at the picture, you're able to deduce what they are saying. Is it not? Once you look at it, you know that this is what they are trying to tell us, that the government is milking the people. Instead of being the leader and helping the people, the government is milking the people. So that is satire. Do you understand these terms? Are they very clear? Blossom. These terms, are they very clear? All of it, but good. So if they are clear, then I expect you to write along with me now. So number one, we look at foreshadowing. So I'll be dictating as I'm writing. Foreshadowing is a literary device in which a writer gives. Is a literary device in which a writer gives, an advance hint of what is to come later. An advanced hint of what is to come later. That's what it is. Foreshadowing often appears at the beginning of a story or a chapter. It often appears at the beginning of a story or a chapter. So that's where it appears. And helps the reader develop expectations about the coming events in the story. So what does it do? It helps the reader to develop expectations of what is to come later in the story. Was this what I explained? Dabili? Is it what I explained earlier? Very clever. Thank you. So secondly, we are going to look at number 2, called suspense. What is suspense? Suspense is the intense feeling that an audience goes through. Is the intense feeling that an audience goes through. The intense feeling that an audience goes through while waiting for the outcome of certain events. While waiting for the outcome of certain events. That's what suspense is. It basically leaves the reader holding their breath and wanting more information. It basically leaves the reader or readers holding their breath and wanting more information. That was the explanation I gave before, isn't it? Good. So get it written down. Can I clean it up? Can I clean foreshadowing?
Yeah.
The whole of it? Good. So that I can write about theater. That's the third, theater. And what does that mean? You can call it theater or you can call it what? Play. It's a form of literature written by a playwright. It's a form of literature written by a playwright, usually consisting of dialogue between characters. Usually consisting of dialogue between characters. Intended for theatrical performance rather than just reading. Intended for theatrical performance rather than just reading. What's this trying to say, Blossom? What does it mean by this last statement? Intended for theatrical performance rather than just reading. Means that plays are always acted, is it not? They always perform. You don't just write it so that people will read like a prose, isn't it? Prose is the one that people read in novels, is it not? So drama, once you write a drama, it's expected that you act it. Monologue. Can I clean suspense? I can clean this, but can I? I can, but have you written this?
No.
Theater. Be right on. So number 4 is monologue. What it is? Monologue is an extended speech by one person. Is an extended speech by one person. Though it could be addressed to the second person, you understand? Addressing. But now when you have 1, 2 people, dialogue. Dialogue Dialogue is a conversation. Dialogue is a conversation. You know the difference between just a speech and a conversation? What's the difference between just a speech and a conversation?
Conversation is when two persons are interacting.
Good.
Yes, when a person is talking.
The person is rendering, you understand, talking. Could be talking to somebody actually, you understand? But when you're talking and I'm talking back, that is conversation, is it not? So write it down. Dialogue. Then we look at the sixth, known as what? Soliloquy. We're going to look at it by saying that Shakespeare uses this technique in this finest one, most especially in character Hamlet. This is a technique through which audience is a what? Technique through which the audience shares, or through which the actors or the characters share their feelings, disturbances, and their innermost nature, through which the characters share their feelings, what again? Disturbances and innermost what? Innermost what? Nature. You understand? What is on your inside? You talk about it. People get to know about it. That is soliloquy. Symbolism. Symbolism. What is symbolism? These are words and expressions that have extended meanings. Symbolisms. Words and expressions with extended meaning. Example, like I told us, is what? Ball represents unity, love, and oneness. Ball represents what? Unity, love, oneness. Which other example did I give? Vegetable love symbolizing what? Vegetable love which symbolize what? Luxuriant, something that is alive. Is it not? Luxuriant means something that is luxuriant what? Luxuriant and constant growth. Then what else? Of love. Then we talk about protagonist and antagonist. What did we say protagonist is? Protagonist, who is he? The central what? Central character in a what? In a play. The central character in a play is the protagonist. Now, if the central character is a man, he is known as the what? Hero. And if it is a woman, he is known as the what? Heroine. Isn't it? Then we look at what again? Antagonist. And who is the antagonist? The one that opposes the main character in a play, is it not? That person. The one that opposes the main character in a play. I hope you're writing everything, Dabeli, because Blossom had written this before. So make sure you're updating your own everything. Then we have satire, a play or drama that uses fiction or fiction's characters to portray the ills of the society. Satire is what? A play, is it not? That uses what? Fictions or fiction materials to do what? To portray the what? The ills of the society. What do you mean by ills? Things that are not good that are happening in the society, is it not? That's the meaning of ills. Ills of the society. Now, stream of consciousness. You say that is a method that is used to explore or reveal the inner flow of thoughts. Stream of what? Consciousness. That's the last thing we did, is it not? And 11. Stream of consciousness, which is a method in the literature that is used to explore and review, that is used to explore and reveal the what? The inner flow of thoughts of the character. Inner flow of thoughts of the character. And with that, we'll come to the end of today's class, which is also the end of the literary part of this literature. Is it not, Blossom? It's the end of the literary part of this literature. Next part we are going into is the actual looking at the novels. Luxuriant means something that is luxuriant what? Luxuriant and constant growth. Then what else? Of love. Then we talk about protagonist and antagonist. What did we say protagonist is? Protagonist, who is he? The central what? Central character in a what? In a play. The central character in a play is the protagonist. Now, if the central character is a man, he is known as the what? Hero. And if it is a woman, he is known as the what? Heroine. Isn't it? Then we look at what again? Antagonist. And who is the antagonist? The one that opposes the main character in a play, is it not? That person. The one that opposes the main character in a play. I hope you're writing everything, Dabeli, because Blossom had written this before. So make sure you're updating your own everything. Then we have satire, a play or drama that uses fiction or fiction's characters to portray the ills of the society. Satire is what? A play, is it not? That uses what? Fictions or fiction materials to do what? To portray the what? The ills of the society. What do you mean by ills? Things that are not good that are happening in the society, is it not? That's the meaning of ills. Ills of the society. Now, stream of consciousness. You say that is a method that is used to explore or reveal the inner flow of thoughts. Stream of what? Consciousness. That's the last thing we did, is it not? And 11. Stream of consciousness, which is a method in the literature that is used to explore and review, that is used to explore and review the what? The inner flow of thoughts of the character. Inner flow of thoughts of the character. And with that, we'll come to the end of today's class, which is also the end of the literary part of this literature. Is it not, Blossom? It's the end of the literary part of this literature. Next part we are going into is the actual looking at the novels.